So I just got done painting the easement here. I've gone and taken the correct southern boundary as established by the survey and the pins, and put a string line 660 feet all the way from one end to the other, so there's no getting it wrong. And I went ahead, and although the easement only allows for 12 feet, I went ahead and put where my fence line is going to be at 13 feet. So it gives it a little bit of room. And that's representing this green line here, which I don't know if it's going to show up on camera or not, but that's basically right here. So like it says here, 13 feet from this green line to the property boundary right there. And shows that this whole thing's been about them not wanting to do the work that they agreed to before they moved in. Although they tried to claim otherwise. I've got a FOIA report from the sheriff's department with the sheriff and the state police actually calling them liars. Told him he was blowing smoke, saying that he didn't originally agree to constructing the easement in order for me to stop the lawsuit from the previous owner that he bought it from. Of course, that didn't keep him from getting $30,000 off the asking price. But I guess he just wants to keep that instead of buying gravel. And, you know, getting professionals to come out here and remove trees. The biggest problem was this tree here marked with orange. That was the infamous bearing tree, which I finally had that plaque removed. The forest guy was so happy to go and tell the Herzls about it that he ran down there after we cut the thing off. He got permission and all that. And so allowing them to remove that tree to allow them a easier access to the road there. They come out and said, fuck no, we ain't doing it. I don't know what their alternative was. I guess they want to continue carving up our property and breaking into it anywhere where a tree or, you know, some soft ground keeps them from being able to egress without maintenance, which just isn't what anyone gets out here. So even though on the easement they're only allowed 12 feet from one end of the property to the other, which would basically put them here where the old road used to come through. Right there, you can kind of see the clearing. It goes all the way half a mile or so out to the main road. We went ahead and gave them 12 feet back on this little connecting 60-foot part. And we'll go ahead and modify the easement to allow them to have that in perpetuity. And in fact, I went ahead and went back even more than 12 feet to allow them that whole tree, plus I think it worked out to be 27 feet on this corner right here. They're coming into our property, but that would be fine. You know, I'd want to be able to get in and out too. And all of this is kind of daisy chained on from one change to another with none of it being recorded properly. But this is what would be the most common solution to this problem. Easements, unless there's some geographic boundary like a cliff or a major waterway, they always follow along the property boundaries. You know, if you've got somebody behind somebody, then it's going to be a 12-foot or whatever the agreement is swath that goes along one of the property boundaries. It very rarely cuts through the middle unless you're dealing with, you know, a protected waterway or something. As there's none of this other than trees, that keeps them from enjoying the full 12 feet right here. They certainly have the ability to remove those. They had no problem removing several trees off of my property when they decided they were in their way. Several of them going through that mark there, and several stumps down here that still exist, where they just kind of went wherever was most convenient for them, and they made a trail that just does like this. Well, I can't build a fence around that, and that would change every time something came up or a tree moved or whatever. You have to be proactive about your maintenance. You have to control where the water goes. You have to remove trees that are in the way, and you have to keep the brush down. This is all solely their responsibility. And it's been going on 2 years now where they've done absolutely nothing on this easement, with the exception of erroneously dropping gravel on our side down over here. The surveyor said they were off by over 60 feet where they dumped that. But other than that one load of gravel on the easement, They haven't filled in anything other than that one little pit where they started before they moved in. They had that put out there, and they had filled some of that in, but they just never continued with it. They thought good enough, and that was literally their words, and they believed that they were going to be able to continue cutting in to our old driveway, which is really just where the property owners had buried the power line at some time in the past, and I guess that just become the default, but it was never recorded, and it doesn't make a lot of sense because the way the grade is, it just brings all the water right down in here, causing a problem for my property, and whether they realize it or not, their easement too. So I'm going to be changing all of that, and the fences are going up. I think that'll change any of the problems we have with them not liking what's going on my property. And if they don't see it, should be a out of sight, out of mind thing. I think a big blue industrial steel fence is the best way to deal with this. So we're contracting out for that. I was looking for just a simple 6-foot fence, but I think if we're going to go that far and put industrial steel up, we're going to go ahead and go the full 12. It's just cheaper for me to do it that way, and makes more sense. And with the way the topography goes, it'd be a lot easier to have a clean line if we're starting from a 12-foot and going up and down. That way I can cut the steel from the bottom and keep the top nice and level. So that's going to be what's going on now before the snow flies. And I'm actually just about to head down to the attorney's office and get all of this filed and down in the court for them so they can understand what's going on, and stop with the silliness and just grow up and act their age. That would be good.